Hello. This is Zach Valenti broadcasting from 2020. It's a new decade. Do you come in? Am I all alone here? I don't know. Oh! I'm not. Hello, Raging Artist. Welcome to Self-Care Sunday 2020. I keep hearing this static. Like something's trying to break through. Vermilion, Altair, hello, welcome. It's great to have you here, broadcasting from Brooklyn, New York. It is Isaac Valenti, and welcome to Self-Care Sunday. It is an honor and a privilege to bring in the new year with all of you amazing people. Wow! Mads, Eleanor, Jeremy Fuckwad, that is the name. Chiaria, welcome. What is that sound? It's almost like something's trying to communicate. Welcome, everybody. Shout out to everybody who's watching this not live. A lot to talk about today. But first, that's the wrong signal. But let's see if we can tune it a little better. Just gonna adjust the thing over here. Ah. It sounds even better. I've just been making noise with my stupid instrument. I found a new patch on it that just sounds like a tuning radio. Sorry if that's been annoying. A lot that I'd like to talk about today, but definitely a little bit of music. But most of all, just relaxing, because it's Sunday, and there's nowhere to go, there's nothing to do, unless you should be somewhere else, and then I can't help you with that. But to everybody out there, just a lot of love and, what's the word? I almost said hope for this new year. But somebody once told me something funny about hope. That it lives in a time that only lives in our mind, the future. And so if there's no future because there's only the present, there's no hope. And that's not hopeless. Kind of. I don't know if that makes any sense. But I guess what I'm trying to say is welcome to 2020, where I am interested in exploring this present moment day by day. And first Sunday of every month, right here on YouTube, live with you guys for Self-Care Sunday. Check out the new. Got this here Wolf 359 shirt that was the fruits of many years of labor and imagination, with a blue back radio in the back. I am very proud to say that this exists in the Wolf 359 store. If you haven't heard, it's available. It is maybe my favorite shirt. Complete with that. Only 3 years too late for the end of that show. So a couple things that I want to talk about today. And I'm going to start with a tweet from somebody I respect dearly, who I consider a friend. Cut to the screen. Can I zoom in here? Let's see. I don't know if it's possible to do that. Please let me know in the chat if things are grainy or crappy or you can't read. But here we go. Do fewer things better 2020. This popped up in my feed last night, and I knew that I had to share it with you today. Because I feel like this captures everything I've been thinking about at the end of last year For anybody that participated in Rise Ember this past year, you may notice that it wasn't as awesome as the previous years in terms of like emails sent out and just general me doing stuff for it, because I think I was guilty of doing too many things just okay. And so yes, I'm committed to doing fewer things but better this year. Starting with, for anybody that's been following, an old podcast made new, Focused AF. This is a passion project that I've done in the past that I've sort of rebooted, and it is live and available, and will be going up 365 days this year. I was a little late on the first, but better late than never. And so you can see there are these episodes here, which you can subscribe to. If you are familiar, I did this show a couple times. I started it back in 2017, did it daily, and burnt myself out because I wasn't planning ahead. And then in 2018, I brought it back and tried to do it weekly, and it was an experiment. I think it was a successful failure, in the sense that I learned a ton. I'm really proud of the work that I made, and I did not keep it up in a way that I intended. Again, didn't do a lot of pre-planning or preparation, and kind of tried to do it all myself without setting myself up for success. And I think that that's one of my number one intentions this year, is to set myself up to succeed. And one of those things has been to work on this last year. So I'm basically broadcasting for this month these meditations that I recorded last September and October. And then I'm sort of continuing to record some of these here meditations from cut back to this book, from one of my favorite sort of minds on meditation, this dude named Jiddu Krishnamurti. The publisher actually gave me permission to read small excerpts, and lucky me, every day is a small excerpt. And I've just found Jiddu Krishnamurti's approach to meditation to kind of cut to the heart of the thing, and it doesn't kind of get lost in religiosity or, I don't know, superpowers, like trying to get some perfect state. I find the way he writes and talks and thinks about these things to be very fresh, if that makes sense. And I don't know, I'm taking risk. I don't know. For me, it feels a little bit risky to be broadcasting such a brief clip, and I worry that the show doesn't necessarily have as much of myself in it as it once did. And I hope you guys enjoy what it is, and it may very well change. I'm certainly interested and excited for people who are listening, and should they discover anything for themselves or get anything out of it or have any questions, or just have something that they want to communicate in this spirit of focused inquiry. I have a feature on the site set up so you can send in voice memos, which I may end up broadcasting on the feed and responding to. So feel free to participate in that if you would like. I just am excited to have that back in my life and be sort of poking the universe with broadcasts that I as much as one can really believe in. So check it out, Focused AF. You may also notice that my Twitter feed is basically blank, and my Instagram feed is basically blank, and my YouTube feed is basically blank. That's also kind of part of this whole experiment of less but better. which is why I was like so like the universe is uh, coalescent, and it just seems like thing that just seeing that tweet was like, something's in the air. Um, I let's see. I see a lot of people are in the chat, and so I would like to catch up on that. Awesome. Lots of love for the shirt, which I appreciate. It is a labor of love, as much as Wolf 359 was. Raging Artist doesn't make official resolutions, but working on health since just diagnosed with several chronic illnesses, doing PT every day. Good look on that everyday work. And I'm sorry to hear about those diagnoses. Chronic illnesses, more common than I think we like to think about. And I think in my own experience dealing with my own chronic illnesses, as much as they've been a source of pain, I think they've also been some amount of compassion generating, because I realize that I just don't know what people are dealing with. There's important questions being asked in the chat, like favorite Pokemon. Very important. I'm a Squirtle baby. Child of the 90s. What can I say? Really cool to see people taking on challenges for this new year. Drawing, reading. Curious to see how some of that stuff shakes out. Definitely feel free to, as stuff gets uploaded to the internet, send that my way. But yeah, I've been thinking about swabbing the decks, clearing the garden, just like shaking out the old to usher in the new. There's a lot of people, there's some people that, okay, there's really one person on Twitter that I've seen have like nothing on their timeline. And it's just one of those things that I was thinking would be nice in this new year, stepping up to, bringing back this thing intentionally, this Focused AF thing. I don't know. I was like feeling like kind of cleaning house, and it felt good to do. I've been thinking about it for a while. So if anybody's concerned about me, I guess thank you for your concern, and I wouldn't be too worried. Let's see. The other thing that I've been working on recently is I applied to the David Prize for my Project Uplift project. I won't find out if I'm in the final 50 until February. The David Prize is a new prize grant for New Yorkers doing meaningful things in New York City. They're offering 5 New Yorkers, 5 individuals, $100,000 grants over 2 years, so a total of $200,000 to invest in, work on something extraordinary for the future of New York. And a friend of mine from college, Val Puslowski, put me onto it, and I have my fingers crossed. I keep saying I'm open to receiving this blessing. Be real game changer, life changer to focus on Project Uplift, which, if you haven't seen or heard, is this sort of insane mindfulness campaign that I do, where people wear that headset. I don't know if you caught that, that little plastic thing on this guy's head that actually has a little sensor that's reading brainwaves, and when people relax sufficiently, a fan starts to speed up in the base of the tower, and then you can literally lift up the world. And this is something that I've done since 2012. We started prototyping it then, and this is some footage from Union Square Park in 2013 when we finally had the thing built, and it's really been one of the delights of my life. I feel like most people at this point know me from Wolf 359 that have met me on the interwebs. But before I was doing that, I was doing this, and I actually have a smaller version prototyped as of last year, which I think I may have shared on this channel. It is over there, so I'm not going to get it right now. But I have like a sort of 1 foot tall scale version that I can fit into a push cart and push around. And I was doing that in a couple of parks over the summer, and have a dream, a hope, a want, a wish, no hope. I have a goal to bring it to public schools. I used to go to public school, and by the privilege and virtue of my parents, I got to go to a private school where I finally got diagnosed with learning disabilities and started getting resources that I'm not sure I would have gotten otherwise. And so I sort of have this desire to pay that privilege forward. And so my application for this David Prize situation was about being able to focus full-time, cost blind, bringing this work to public schools around the city. So, fingers crossed. I think about 5,000 people ended up applying, maybe a little more, and they get it down to 50, and then they get it down to 5. So, here's hoping, and in the meantime, I am focused on voiceover work and other freelance media work, which is how I've made a living for the past several years. I was doing more video work, and then sort of got into podcasting through Wolf, and having built up my chops and sort of gotten my feet wet more as a voice actor, I started booking more work. And thanks to Kristen DiMercurio, I'm set up on a website called Fiverr, and I'm getting on other freelance sites while I explore other freelance opportunities. So yeah, my goals this year sort of fall into 4 categories. I'm interested in, number 1, completing everything that's incomplete and just cleaning up my messes. And that's like the little things like piles of paper around my room, to the big things like I have an audio drama project for charity that I've been working on from not last year's Rye Scrivember, but the previous one. And that I just like am tired of that continuing to drag on and not be complete. So there's like things like that just have to get done. There's like conversations that I've been, I think, afraid to have in my personal life that I'm, thanks to a lot of soul-searching, journaling, therapy, and good friends, ready to tackle this year. And and I think professionally, Gabrielle and Sarah and I are getting our businesses in order, both Kind of Evil Genius and Long Story Short. And that's exciting, daunting, but exciting. So that's bucket 1, is completing incompletions. Bucket 2 is building better habits. And this is where I sort of went for broke, wishing for more wishes, and have crammed in a bunch of things that are not necessarily habits, but like spending more time with family. But I think some of the more foundational things are treating exercise, diet, and sleep as if they were pills, for managing my ADD, managing my anxiety, managing my mental well-being. And so that looks like, 20 minutes sort of minimum of cardio a week, 3 times. Just like kind of basics. I used to have this bike trainer at school that's been collecting dust, or the bike's been collecting dust in my parents' bike room back in Manhattan. So I brought that back to Brooklyn, and I'm making that part of my routine. Yeah, just like real simple, but makes a big difference. And then the other two buckets are making money, because apparently that's something that makes a difference in life. And the last bucket is making music, which is something that I think has been important to me since I was a wee child, and haven't fully explored up until now. And so doing that. So yeah, that's kind of everything. I guess it wasn't that much that I wanted to talk about, but that's kind of everything that I wanted to throw on y'all's radar. I'm just checking in back on the chat. Looks like there's some precious burbs, Pokemon baby burbs. Yeah, I'm thinking maybe with the remaining time that we have, get a little bit of meditation on and migrate on over to some poetry. I did want to shout out, if you're watching, Rose Whitmer. I saw your comment on the last video, and for Self-Care Sunday. And by the way, guys, all my videos I'm pretty sure are available in my playlists on my channel. They're just all unpublished now, so they're not searchable, or they don't show up in my list of videos. And I'll probably add some of them back later this year, but I was just excited to kind of clean the decks and work on some other stuff that when it goes up will have less noise around it, if that makes sense. All right. Let's see. I love seeing you guys talk to each other. It's so wild that this is a community. It's just, that always blows me away. Okay, so this is January 5th. And this is the page that I read in today's Focused AF. The version in the podcast is recorded in a nature place. So there's birds chirping, and you hear the subway in the background, and wind and that kind of thing. So it's a little different, but it's a little bit spoiler. And then we'll go on to poetry. I found a couple poems about the new year, and we'll see what time it is. Maybe we'll find some more about cats, if you remember from last month. Was that last month? I don't know. My memory is not an accurate test for reality. Okay. So I just recommend sitting comfortably, lying down, whatever's right for you. Feel free to stand and walk slowly, but I'm more of a sit and meditator, personally. Listening brings freedom. When you make an effort to listen, are you listening? Is not that very effort a distraction that prevents listening? Do you make an effort when you listen to something that gives you delight? You are not aware of the truth, nor do you see the false as the false, as long as your mind is occupied in any way with effort, with comparison, with justification, or condemnation. Listening itself is a complete act. The very act of listening brings its own freedom. But are you really concerned with listening, or with altering the turmoil within? if you would listen in the sense of being aware of your conflicts and contradictions without forcing them into any particular pattern of thought, perhaps they might cease altogether. You see, we are constantly trying to be this or that, to achieve a particular state, to capture one kind of experience and avoid another. So the mind is everlastingly occupied with something. It is never still to listen to the noise of its own struggles and pains. Be simple, and don't try to become something or to capture some experience. J. Krishnamurti, The Book of Life, published by Harper One. I find it so easy in practicing quote-unquote meditation to seek a state of relaxation that's just imagined. I'm just noticing all these sounds all of a sudden. The whirring of all my various electronics. Sounds in the street. Of the building. All right. I'm happy to take recommendations for poems if there's anything anybody wants to hear. But I've got 3 queued up, all about the new year. New Year by Bei Dao, translated by David Hinton. A child carrying flowers walks towards the new year. A conductor tattooing darkness listens to the shortest pause. Hurry a lion into the cage of music. Hurry stone to masquerade as a recluse, moving in parallel nights. Who's the visitor? When the days all tip from nests and fly down roads, the book of failure grows boundless and deep. Each and every moment's a shortcut. I follow it through the meaning of the East, returning home, closing death's door. Checking to see. Ooh, whoops. Cut back to the camera. Oh man, Rose Whitmer, that's awesome. Welcome. That's so cool that you're tuning in while you're on a road trip. That's wild. Um, if anybody else, I think some raging artist, I think you were saying, can we suggest poetry? You're welcome to. I was just popping back into the chat to see if you have another one before diving into another of my two remaining New Year's poems I found on Poetry Foundation. Burning the Old Year. Naomi Shihab Ni. I hope I said that right. Pause for fire trucks. Okay. Letters swallow themselves in seconds. Notes, friends tied to the doorknob. Transparent scarlet paper. Sizzle like moth wings. Marry the air. So much of any year is flammable. Lists of vegetables. Partial poems. Orange swirling flame of days. So little as a stone. Where there was something and suddenly isn't, an absence shouts, celebrates, leaves a space. I begin again with the smallest numbers. Quick dance, shuffle and losses and leaves. Only the things I didn't do. Cackle after the blazing crackle after the blazing dies. Only the things I didn't do crackle after the blazing dies. That resonates. Hello, Benjamin Theodore. Welcome. It's great to have you here. It's blown away by people connecting over this. All right. I'm going to dive into the last poem I have for y'all right now. And I don't know if anybody has any questions, thoughts, ideas. I am all open. It's so funny to try to keep up with the chat while being live. All right. Last but not least, To the New Year by W.S. Merwin. With what stillness at last you appear in the valley, your first sunlight reaching down to touch the tips of a few high leaves that do not stir, as though they had not noticed and did not know you at all. Then the voice of a dove calls from far away in itself to the hush of the morning. So this is the sound of you, here and now, whether or not anyone hears it. This is where we have come with our age, our knowledge such as it is, and our hopes such as they are, invisible before us, untouched, and still possible. I really love that one. This is the sound of you, here and now, whether or not anyone hears it. This is where we have come with our age, hello. Lurking and artworking. I love that. I'm sorry to hear about problematic families, and I'm really glad to hear about healing. Congratulations. Makes such a difference. And the sun is definitely going down because this looks dark all of a sudden. I'm like, not much I can do. I'd have to set up a light. Forgot the name of poetry, a poem I was thinking, Galaxy Brain. All right, well, I'm going to doodle a little bit with some music, and we'll see how far we get. Let's see if I can, like, get this in the shot. Yeah? Maybe? Doesn't have to be a New Year's poem. It could be any poem. I was just excited to do those ones. Let's see. How can I also be in frame? This is like, I gotta work on this setup. I'm like, I'll be right back. All right. That's like more or less everything in shot that matters. Okay, let's do this. So this is a metronome. It's fun to make noise. not very good with the arpeggiator. Yeah, let's try this. I hope this is as fun for you guys as it is for me. That's not quite right. I'm not doing very well at this bass part. There we go. More or less. Oh no, that recorded. Okay, I hate this. This I don't hate. I was trying to make a second loop. There we go. There we go. There we go. All right. How's this for a little? Thank you, Kesnia Futsi, and I appreciate Chicken Soup for the Soul music. Okay, this is my little 4-track song. There we go. 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 Sorry, that got really loud. This is an effect. Welcome to the new year, everybody. I hope it's a weird one in a good way. This has been Self Care Sunday. Much love. Ah, everybody, have a wonderful rest of your day, and I'll see you next month. And don't forget to tune in to Focused AF, available everywhere. Website's focused.af. Until next time, peace. And shout out to all of the patrons of my personal work at patreon.com/ZachValenti. Thank you so much. I do not feel like I do enough. And I think that I will always probably feel that way. And thank you to everybody who supports No Bad Ideas, which I do with Gabrielle and Sarah. And thank you everybody who hooked us up while we were doing Wolf. Just thank you. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for being you, because there's nobody else like you. Until next time. I'm really good at ending streams.